Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we're doing 1994's Interview with the Vampire. Before we get started, if you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Corey_idol. Or you could follow the show on both Twitter and Instagram at Kiss the Reviews. So, and Corey, you're up.
Yeah. We actually have had a little bit of housekeeping here. Housekeeping, you want me to jerk you off? We've had a ton of new requests in the comments section. Fucking love it. Keep them coming. Yep. However, I have stated this before. Just a quick reminder for everyone. If you really want to see one of your movies that you are requesting reviewed by us, anytime within the next year, half year, whatever, you have to go to PayPal. When you make a donation, can be 50 cents, can be $1. We set no dollar amount whatsoever. But if you go to PayPal, donate $1, let's just say, and make your movie request there in the comments, we guarantee you will see it within the next 6 months. Right now, we're about 18 to 20 weeks booked out. So, again, PayPal has priority. That's where you get to see them. Free requests, we're going to get to them when we get to them. But I tell you, if you're making a free request right now, it is going to be a very long time before you see that movie.
Yep. No, absolutely.
So, it's not.
Absolutely.
Just trying to help you guys out, man.
All right. Well, let's get into the cast of this because I got a great story for y'all. So, Interview with the Vampire, 1994, the film stars Brad Pitt as Louis, Tom Cruise as Lestat, Antonio Banderas as Armand, Kirsten Dunst as Claudia, and Christian Slater as Malloy. So, told you I'd have a story, now I got a story. So, I saw this and I vividly remember. Some of these movies, I'm like, did I see this in the theater? I think I did. Blah, blah. I vividly remember seeing this the day it came out, or maybe that weekend. Because I took a first date there. I was in high school, and I remember this like it was yesterday because let's call her a bit of a prude. This is not the movie to take a prudish person to, especially with the whole theater scene later on in the movie. It was probably one of the most uncomfortable first dates I had ever been on in my life. It was terrible. So, just like with, I can't remember the movie that made you uncomfortable because of relationship things. The Breakup. Interview with the Vampire. Every time I watch it, I always think of an uncomfortable first date.
That's the coolest fucking story I've ever heard in my entire life. That's insane. Can I hear it again?
I once took a first date to go see Private Parts in theaters, and we ended up doing some finger blasting in about the 12th row. So,
is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
So let's get into this one. So this movie opens in present day with Daniel Malloy, who is a reporter of sorts. He's setting up recording equipment. He's there to interview Louis, who claims to be a vampire. Malloy is skeptical, but Louis then shows off his vampire abilities by running across the room to turn on a light. I'm pretty sure there's other things you can do instead of like turning on a light super fast to prove that you're a vampire. Like, vampires are like crawling on walls and ceilings in this movie. Just do that.
Yeah, if I were Christian Slater, I'd be like, oh, you're a vampire? Well, so am I. Look, the lights went off.
Louis begins his story, and this story begins in 1791 when Louis was born into darkness. He was the master of a plantation in Louisiana, and his wife and child died during childbirth, and he lost the will to live, so now he's just running through life as a drunk slave owner and going to bars and starting fights and whatever the hell he was getting into at the time and banging hookers 2 at a time. He basically turned into Fredo from The Godfather. So
it's really weird how in the 90s slave owning people back in the South were actually considered protagonists in your movie. Like, oh, that poor slave owner lost his wife and child. It's called God's retribution, fuckface.
You see, your actions have consequences.
He was a nice slave owner.
He was.
Weren't they all?
His
fuck
slaves.
outta here.
His slaves liked him.
You know, like a nice one. Just kind of friendly, like, hey, what's up, guys? You want some crack?
So while wandering the streets drunk and with a hooker, he's attacked by a vampire named Lestat. Lestat kills the hooker, feeds on Louis for a second. He allows Louis to live, though, and Lestat then gives Louis the choice he never had.
And actually, I got to stop you real quick, because technically, there are two major violations here.
Corey's life lessons.
Hello, robbers and vampires. Uncle Corey here. If you see your potential victim, whether it be your crime or your vampirisms, about to receive a blowjob, let him get the fucking blowjob, dude. That's just mean.
Yeah.
It's the last one he's ever gonna have, either by your knife or the vampire eating him. Just let him go. Just let him go a nice way.
Well, so I have a question, because Malloy and Louis get into it here in a little bit about like, oh, stake through the heart. Is that a thing? Blah, blah, blah. You make a very good point here. Is that the last blowjob you'll ever, like, do vampires, I mean, do they keep their genitalia?
I don't know if they keep there's that show The Stained where they don't.
Yes.
However, I'm only saying that because there is zero fucking in this movie.
No, you're right.
If I look like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt, vampire or not, before I eat, I'm fucking.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's like you're just tapping ass all over colonial America.
Hell yes.
We then cut to the cemetery. Louis and Lestat meet in the cemetery. Lestat drains Louis's blood, lets Louis drink his blood to become a vampire. And Louis continues to tell Malloy about his change, dispels all those rumors and stereotypes that we just covered. He then tells Malloy that he quickly regretted his decision because he couldn't bear feasting on humans. Lestat, on the other hand, loved feasting, killing humans. He didn't give two shits about anybody. And after Louis finds out that he could live off of animal blood, he starts feeding on rats and other small animals, including the old heiress's poodles at the party that they have at his house.
This is what I don't understand, because you're not, like, he's like, oh, I'm holding on to my last piece of humanity. And like, we talked about Sly in Expendables.
Yes.
Being a bit of a martyr and a whiny punk bitch. Dude, I apologize to Sly because I didn't know what that was until I saw Brad Pitt in this. Like, dude, get over your... First off, like, I've lost the will to live, but I'm still alive. Make me a vampire. Man, you made me a vampire. Bitch, you are not a human anymore. You are a motherfucking apex predator. And
you're
apex
a shark.
Predators do what apex predators do, and they fucking hunt and they feed. And that's all he should be worried about. Yep. I am totally with Lestat on this. Listen, you are not that person anymore. Give it up.
You can make your own rules. You could be like, well, I only kill bad people. I only feed on bad. There's enough bad people in the world that you can live on forever.
You were right.
Going back to when Louis finds out he can feed on rats.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember this at all, but that scene where Lestat bites the rat and then drains it into the glass and hands it to Louis to drink. That scene, Oprah, before this movie came out, right when it was coming out, threw a fucking shit fit over and said she walked out of the theater and tried to torpedo the whole fucking movie release because of that scene.
That is a funny story.
I remember that. I was like, Tom, I'm so disturbed by this movie.
And she walked out of the theater when that scene happened and went on the Oprah Winfrey Show and just bagged it for being filth and disgusting and like basically a snuff film.
So she bagged on Interview with the Vampire for the rat scene, but she had Dr. Oz on there for how many years? Cool. Way to go, Oprah.
Tom, I still don't like it.
So one night, one of Louis' slaves, because he's a nice slave owner, Yvette, she tells Louis that they're frightened of him and Lestat. And Louis then takes her arm and feeds on her. And then all the other slaves on his property start storming the house with torches. And Louis comes out carrying Yvette's body, tells all of them to leave. Their slave master is the devil. He grabs one of the torches and lights the mansion on fire.
This is where another scene where I'm calling bullshit on Louis, like, oh, my wife, and oh, I'm so lovelorn. He very clearly had a Thomas Jefferson type relationship happening here with Tandy Newton's character.
Yes.
It was very clear that this was a familiar relationship.
100%.
So stop with your wife and child shit. You're fucking your slaves, Jefferson.
So as the house is on fire, Lestat crashes in. He yells at Louis for ruining everything and takes him to a mausoleum where they can sleep during the day. They eventually move to New Orleans, where Louis still refuses to feed on humans. Lestat brings him home a couple of hookers, tries to force Louis into feeding on them. Louis refuses once again, and Lestat kills the hookers. And Louis then roams the streets, feeding on rats. He wanders into an area where the plague is running rampant. And he finds this little girl crying over the body of her dead mother.
Her green-armed dead mother.
Yes. And she goes to Louis for comfort, but he's starving, so he feeds on her. Lestat then comes in and celebrates, dancing with the mother's body as Louis runs away. This scene is awesome. Listen, I know I've said a lot of shit about Tom Cruise. I'm assuming I've said a lot of shit about Tom Cruise on this show. He's not one of my favorite people on the planet, but acting-wise, he is fucking phenomenal. In this scene, he takes the mother. He's just doing the waltz around the room with her.
Dude, this role, period.
It's brilliant.
Name a movie where Tom Cruise is the villain.
Yeah.
You really can't do it. This was his training day, and he got fucked over for whatever reason. But this role for Tom Cruise should genuinely be celebrated. Because
absolutely.
It is such a departure from Tom Cruise' normal character.
Yeah.
And he is so good and so we talk about it all the time. The best villains are charming. They have something about them that you kind of like and you laugh about with them in their heinous acts. Yep. And that's what he is. He's so fucking charming. He's so funny. He just exudes that whatever where you're still disgusted by him and you still hate him, but you fucking love him.
Yeah, you're just drawn to him. He's brilliant in this movie. Lestat then finds Louis under a bridge or something. Apparently Louis wants to be a troll now. And he takes Louis back home, where he finds that Lestat brought the little girl back with him. And Lestat turns her into a vampire. Louis not happy with this, but begins to treat her like his own daughter.
This is where Kirsten Dunst starts to overshadow literally everyone else in this movie.
Dude, how old was Kirsten Dunst in this?
10, 12.
I was going to say 12 max. Dude, yeah. Her acting chops at that age were fucking ridiculous because she kills this role too.
Dude, there's a part of this movie that we'll get to, and I think it's coming up because we start to montage a little bit.
Yeah.
But where Brad Pitt says that basically it had been 30 years since she had been turned.
Yep.
Dude, she has literally, he talks about her eyes wearing the eyes of a 30-year-old, even though she's in this body.
Yep.
She's doing it. I don't know how she does it, but she fucking does it. I don't know if there's makeup or what they had her thinking about in that time, but that chick looked like she had worn 30 good years of life in those eyes.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
She was so unbelievably good in this. And this was what actually I felt kind of bad for her, because you could put Kirsten Dunst and let's just say any of the Jennifer Lawrence roles where Jennifer Lawrence was up for an Oscar or won an Oscar over that, 5-year span or whatever she was on.
Yeah, roughly.
You could have put Kirsten Dunst in there and she would have got zero recognition because they all would have still compared it to her role in this.
Yeah.
And it would have never been as good.
This is where we get the montage. Lestat and Louis start buying her lots of gifts. They spoil her. Claudia turns into basically the apex shark. Like, she is a shark. She's using her cute, childlike looks to lure people in. Lestat uses this to his advantage because he helps him feed and Louis feed because he starts luring in like entire families. Like, there's the one scene during this montage where there's just coffins being like loaded up onto hearses and shit. And they're literally killing the entire town.
And what I love about this too is they didn't shy away from the brutality of what they are doing.
Yes.
Because they show the family listening to her piano recital, and it's a baby, like a 2-year-old, a 10-year-old. Like, these are all young kids, and then their parents. It's not just like a room of adults. Like, I really like how they're showcasing the brutality of what they're actually doing. Like, these aren't romantic vampire. Like, these are monsters.
Yes, absolutely.
It's awesome.
Claudia finally realizes that she's immortal. She's never going to grow old. She gets pissed. She loses her shit on Lestat. Louis tells her what she is and that she'll never grow old. He also tells her the whole story of the night she was changed. And she blames Lestat and Louis to some extent, and tells Louis, though, that she loves him and that they need to leave Lestat immediately.
Dude, and this is where just hand her all the awards. She didn't direct it. Just give her the director award, give her screenplay awards. Just here's all the gold, Kristen. You win it all, because this next series is phenomenal.
Dude, and we talk about this a lot in like the planning in like action movies, and like the bad guy plans a thing and does a thing. Kirsten Dunst as Claudia here does the best planning of any bad guy in any movie that we've reviewed, at least. Like, her plan goes off almost without a hitch.
Using laudanum to kill them so it keeps their blood warm still.
Yeah.
Just like
brilliant. So Claudia fools Lestat here into drinking dead blood from the 2 boys she overdosed with laudanum. Claudia then slits Lestat's throat. She and Louis then take Lestat into the bayou and dump his body in the water. This is the only mistake that they make, because they think he's dead, but he's still barely alive.
Oh, I thought you meant like the screenwriters. I'm like, what? Because I love this scene.
No, the whole scene with the 2 boys, with her talking to Lestat and apologizing, and the whole like Lestat being over Claudia, and he's just like, ugh, get away. Like, he's playing the piano and they're having the conversation. She's like, I just want to apologize. It got like, just lures him in again. That scene, and then all the way through her slitting his throat and the blood's coming toward, and it's a small little detail, but I loved it. The blood's rushing towards them, and she looks at Louis and she goes, can you put me up on the thing? Like, the blood's gonna touch my shoes. Like, that was awesome.
Yes, it was. It was. And I really like the alligator scene too, because if you're not paying attention, you think the alligator's eating him. I really like that fact, because one, alligators don't chomp, eat somebody. They take them down and roll them around and kill them and then tuck them away in a den for a while.
Yeah.
So them just thinking like, oh, I see blood. Obviously, the alligator is feasting on Louis, but Louis didn't have any blood left.
Yeah.
And that is clear. The alligator's just kind of sitting there. Oh, such a good scene. And
no,
then
it's a really good scene.
When they're trying to leave and he knocks on the door.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much of a scary movie this actually was. There are some very real horror movie elements to it that I did not see coming, did not remember, and were fantastic.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love, this might be, and I haven't seen this in a while, this might be a Halloween staple for me. Like, this is This is a really, really good horror movie.
Yep. I might
Better than-
this might get jammed into my 31 days of horror
Yeah.
movies starting October 1st.
We then get Claudia and Louis getting back home, getting packed to leave for Europe to start their new life. Lestat comes in looking like the crypt keeper. He says that he fed on the alligators, other animals in the swamp. And then Lestat attacks Claudia for having been a very naughty little girl. But Louis sets him on fire with the lantern. Claudia and Louis run away. They make it to their ship in time to see the whole neighborhood go up in flames. And they assume that Lestat is dead.
And I think what they're trying to Forrest Gump this a little bit, I think, if I'm right in the timeline, and you guys can correct me, but there were two like great fires in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Around, and yes, I actually had to look this up because I'm like, but one was in 1788, the other one was in 1794. I think 1794 one is the one he is setting. Not 100% sure. You can correct me. I haven't read the book. I'm sure she details it in the book very clearly.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 90% sure that's what that was supposed to be referencing.
No, that's dope. I did not know that.
And Corey, this is my one beef. My one beef so far with this movie is they magically get on the ship right as it's departing. We were just about to take the boarding planks off, and we were about, like, the sails were coming down. Thank God you're vampires. Be fast.
You were right.
They travel across Europe, searching for other vampires, but they never really find any. Eventually, they settle in Paris, and one night, Louis meets a vampire named Santiago, who does some weird dancing and, like, mime tricks, and a little magician routine. And he also meets Armand, who claims to be the oldest living vampire in the world.
Now, Armand is dope. Stephen, is it Rhea? Rhea,
I believe.
Yeah, Stephen Rhea's character here, which he plays very well.
Yes.
You just knew right away. Like, even if you're having, like, a cookout at the neighborhood and that guy comes over, he's like, oh. Like, oh, you're a fucking problem, dude. Stay the fuck away from me and my family.
Absolutely. The minute he's like, hey, I got an issue with you, Santiago. Don't be okay. And which leads me into the don't do that.
Don't do that. It's not good for you.
Hi, guys out there that are trying to be funny, or don't use magic. Just like leave that to David Blaine and all those guys. Leave that to Chris Angel, Mind Freak. The hey, this, don't do that at my party. Don't pull quarters out from behind my ear. Don't like the pack of cards out of your mouth. Stop it. Stop with all of that shit, because I'm not impressed. Okay?
Yeah, basically, if your joke doesn't involve a curse word, I don't want to hear it. That's my rule.
And I get pissed
hey, look at my fucking thumb, and you could do the trick, and I'd be like, whoa, that's awesome. Because at least you're being somewhat of an adult about it.
Yeah, the thing that pisses me off here about Louis is just like he just kind of plays into it. And he's like, oh, you're doing like the little mimicking mirror thing, and
yeah,
I get it. If I'm Louis, I look at Santiago, I look at Armand first, and I'm like, who are you? What's with this fucking guy? This is part of your crew? I want nothing to, if this is your crew, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, no.
But Louis like, that's cool. Your name's Armand. That's dope as fuck. Let's go to your little fucking theater cave and let's see what's going on there. Armand invites Louis and Claudia to, stay with his coven and visit the Theater des Vampires, where vampires pretending to be humans, pretending to be vampires, do stage shows for humans while feeding right in front of them. I mean, let's face it. It's a lot of theatrics for one kill.
It definitely is. And my guess is this is when your prude-ass girlfriend ran the fuck out of the fucking theater like Oprah.
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
As Claudia and Louis leave the theater to go back to their place, Santiago reads Louis' mind and suspects that he and Claudia murdered Lestat, which is a no-no in the vampire world.
Well, it's a no-no to only one vampire, because Armand seems pretty fucking cool with it. He doesn't care. Santiago's the one that's like, hey, it is a no-no to be do. Like, first off, second in command, you can go fuck yourself telling me your rules. When fucking Antonio Banderas starts dishing out how things are, that's when I'm listening. Look at him, look at you. There's a very clear leader of this group, and it's not you, Santiago. Go fucking mime. Go mime with some kid in a park for dinner, you fuck. Leave me alone.
Armand is wearing the red robe during the theater thing, so you settle down with your regular black robe.
You know who wears red satin robes? Fucking bosses do.
Hell yes.
Armand does say here that it is a rule, like a rule that shouldn't kill your own kind and yada yada. But like, again, like you said, he's not really that broken up about it. He's like, that's fine, dude. Like, is what it is.
Yeah,
like,
show me the book that says it's a law, and I will totally obey it.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And after realizing this, like that it's a vampire no-no to kill blah, 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 and Santiago read my mind and this, that, and the other. For some reason, Louis goes back to the theater to confront Armand about Claudia killing Lestat. Like, Armand tries to get Louis to leave Claudia and live with him and his coven. Louis is tempted because he can learn what he couldn't learn from Lestat because, you know, this guy is a little bit more logical. Lestat was just kind of a fucking lunatic. But during the scene, I'm like, why would you go back?
Yeah, there is it. If you care about Claudia at all,
you're out.
Gone. At least she is. She's on a fucking boat somewhere.
Absolutely.
And she's displaying that she's the only one with a fucking brain.
Yes.
This whole time. Because she's like, cool, I know you're leaving me.
Yeah.
So here's my new mom. Turn her into one of us. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
I need somebody to walk with me because I'm a fucking little girl, dick.
And Claudia knows what's going on. I mean, she knows the fucking score here because
she knew what time it was the second they showed up.
Absolutely. And she brings the chick home and wants Louis to change her over. The woman wants to change over because she wants a companion because she knows that Louis is bolting.
And the mom lost a little girl. The little girl lost her mom. It ties in perfectly. Makes it. Claudia's thought this through.
No, absolutely. Claudia's plans for everything in this movie are fucking perfect. So Louis begrudgingly changes this lady over. And once the woman transforms, the other vampires come in, abduct all three of them. Santiago confines Louis to life in a metal coffin, throws Claudia and the woman in an open well. At dawn, this woman and Claudia are burned to death by the sun. In the largest, thickest dresses I have ever seen in my entire lifetime. They sleep in coffins to hide them from the daylight. Take the dress off that literally from the waist down is 15 feet of thick ass material. Just take the dress off and cover you both with it. What are we doing here? We're just going to hug and scream it out?
You were right.
Here's where I went with it. And my problem with our Sun Tower visit was I have seen The Dark Knight Rises. So I know to climb out of a tower pit, you hop on planks and da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's as a normal fucking human being. That's how Bruce Wayne escaped the pit, was by doing that. There are planks everywhere, and these are strong as fuck vampires that are fast as shit. You could get out of there.
They climb walls.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And they're strong. You could just. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
I'd be like 5 seconds after I'm in that tower, I'm throwing up deuces to these fucking momos, and I'm on my way back to America, mom or not.
So Louis then is freed by Armand from his metal coffin, and then he finds Claudia and Madeline burned to ash. Louis then sets the coven on fire, killing most of the vampires. He's got the sickle, and he's just running through fools in this thing, and he escapes with Armand, who offers Louis to stay with him, and Louis refuses. And a couple of things here. One, this scene where he sets the theater and the coven on fire, and he's got the sickle, and he's just chopping heads, and he gets into the little thing with Santiago at the very end, and he fucking cuts him like straight across the fucking torso. Dude. That's dope. The other really great thing that I love is that when Armand offers him like, hey, stay with me, yada, yada, Louis gives him like the Godfather. I knew it was you, Fredo, all along. Like he gives him the whole, like holds the, it was this, I would love to put those two scenes back to back and see how close they were. Like
pretty fucking close.
It's very close to the same scene. Like I thought that was fucking cool. So decades pass. Louis wanders the world alone before eventually returning to New Orleans. So he then makes it to his old plantation, and the mansion is dilapidated. He sees Lestat living alone in this house, and Lestat has now become this bitch-ass vampire who's afraid of everything and hasn't adapted to the new world. And Louis like, cool story, bro. Like talks to him for 3 seconds and then leaves. And Lestat basically turns into caveman lawyer here. And he's just like, I don't understand the new things and lights. And
My primitive mind can't grasp these concepts.
Louis got to be like, yeah, those are just like lights from that. Why is there a helicopter? A helicopter literally comes right to the window and shines the light through.
Oh my God. They probably saw some skinny ass white boy in a suit walking into this fucking dilapidated house and were like, what the fuck? He's gotta be doing something nefarious.
They're looking for crackhead vampires staying in the fucking dilapidated houses in New Orleans.
Come here, cracky.
So we then cut back to the interview with Malloy. Malloy's intrigued by Louis and his story. He wants Louis to change him into a vampire so he can experience it. Louis, disappointed with Malloy's take, attacks him and then leaves. Malloy then bolts out of the apartment as well, shitting in his pants. And as Malloy drives away, he listens to the tape of Louis, and Lestat jumps out from the back seat, bites Malloy, and then having his strength come back, he puts Malloy in the passenger seat, drives the car himself, and he turns off the tape and tells Malloy he's going to give him the choice that he never had.
I love how he jumps out from the back seat too and is like, I presume I need no introduction. And just
That's great.
Fucking phenomenal.
That is so great. And it's a great ending. It's my favorite was after he jumps into the driver's seat and he starts driving and the tape's playing and he's just like, ugh. Like he's just disgusted by Louis and Louis droning on and on. He's like, oh, dude, fuck you and your opinions and your thoughts. Like, he's over all of it.
It's awesome.
It's fantastic. And again, Tom Cruise, like, just that whole final scene, Tom Cruise just it's perfection.
Oh, yeah. And this is, since we're done with the film, this is what I will say. I think this is the best way to wrap it up, and I can't think of how to give it a higher compliment. Anne Rice is the first writer that wrote her own book and wrote her own screenplay, and both are fucking phenomenal.
Yes. I have never read the book.
It's so good.
I've never read the book.
I'm literally going to start rereading it tomorrow because it is... this movie was so compelling, it made me now want to go back and reread the book.
I might have to purchase the book because I'll say this about this movie. Underrated.
Yes.
Like, as a movie, not necessarily a horror movie, just overall as a movie, this movie is underrated. It's very good. The writing is great. The acting is amazing. I mean, shit. Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Antonio Banderas, Kirsten Dunst, and Christian Slater pops in for a few, like, hey, he pops in for a few of those. But, I mean, the cast is amazing. Just everything about this movie is great outside of the, baby Jessica and the well scene. But it made me realize how underrated this movie was and made me want to read the book. Just because, this is a 2-hour movie and so much was left out.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So I'd love to read the book just to see what was left out.
No, I think the only thing outside of, like you said, Baby Jessica, which is such a good fucking reference. Good luck, kids, in that Wayback Machine finding that one. A lot of kids have fallen in well since then.
Yes.
A lot of kids. It was a big fad for a while.
It was. That was a 90s thing.
The only thing outside of Baby Jessica was just this, I'm a nice slave owner thing. And I get it. It's the 90s. It was different. And I'm harping on it a lot, mainly for the jokes. But at the same time, it's just like, dude, like, you're hard pressed asking a wide or broad audience to view the slave owning guy as the protagonist. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
That's that's like saying Leonardo DiCaprio as Candy from Candyland, Calvin Candy, is going to star in Interview with a Vampire as this guy. It's just like, well, I'm not rooting for that guy's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for him.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you could have made Brad Pitt, and this is how you solve it, because you had to be wealthy to own slaves.
Yes.
It wasn't just a normal thing. So just make Brad Pitt a normal guy to start the movie.
Yeah.
That's literally all you have to do. And then they accumulate wealth, and Lestat buys the slaves because he's already your bad guy. Boom, you're done. You save 5 fucking minutes and you pick up on this. But the whole fucking, I'm a nice slave owner. No, you're not. You're not, because you own slaves.
No, I totally agree with that. There really is no, like, for me, there's no protagonist in this film outside of Claudia is that's who I'm hitching my wagon to in this movie. Like, because Kirsten Dunst does such a fantastic job. She was an innocent, like, literally, brought into this life, and then she was just like, all right. That's what I liked about her character. She's a child. She's brought into that and made the vampire, and then she's like, cool, I'm a vampire, and this is how I live. Dope. Let me go fucking kill some bitches. Look how cute I am. And then she starts like that. Having that innocent girl turn into like the monster she becomes is fucking amazing, with zero emotion about it.
Yes. Like, and to still die the way she was born, which is being viewed as insignificant and small.
Yes.
You're right. It's just phenomenal writing and
it's amazing,
and directing on that part. Yeah, dude, it's a really, really
top,
really fucking good movie. And this wasn't even Brad Pitt when Brad Pitt was like, I'm a good actor, Brad. This is when Brad Pitt was still basically a piece of ass.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was the big actor in this, and it showed until he got on with Kirsten Dunst. And I can't imagine how much fun it was for the two of them to act alongside Kirsten Dunst. Being that young and that good, that had to just be a blast for them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But that's all I got. I love this movie top to bottom. Loved it when it came out. The date didn't go well, but I still love the movie. But yeah, I love it to this day. It still holds up. It should be regarded as a better movie and a better horror movie than it is.
Totally agree. I think a lot of the bad rap it got to came from the 90s, when we were still very uncomfortable with grown men in makeup and long hair talking very close to one another in a whisper.
Yes.
Because it made people feel feelings about themselves.
Absolutely. Well, and with that said, I think we'll end it there. But for Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1994's Interview with the Vampire. The Vampire Chronicles.
Stupid.